Hello and welcome to another Talking To episode. I'm your host Teddy, and today I'm being joined once again by
Hayden.
And today we're going to be talking about the TMNT 2012 Season 2 Episode 4 Mutant Unleashed. So what do you think about this episode briefly?
To be honest, I wasn't expecting what I saw in this episode. It was completely different to what I had in mind, and it was very interesting to say the least.
I think this episode did a lot of good things and a lot of really interesting things in this episode with what they do with Mutant Man and the whole story and what they do with April. But I think the thing that always gets me, that always really annoys me about this episode and also this show in particular is this version of Casey. And I think we'll be having a lot of discussions about him. Okay, so with the opening, we get the with the opening, we do get to see the turtles. So watching the TV show is very anime, very Voltron type thing. Was you confused by it? And also, what do you think about that scene?
The first opening scene, I was very confused by it because I had literally no idea what was going on. I thought I was watching something completely different. I was thinking, hold on a sec, this ain't Ninja Turtles. Like, what's going on here? And of course, when it finally came through, it was like, oh, they're watching another TV program, and I was thinking, okay, it was all right. It was nice to see them not watching the same show over and over again, and not being repetitive. And it was nice to see them watch this sort of like Gundam anime sort of thing, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it was very cool, and I did like the different changes and all that, and of course Donnie being showed up once again by the characters within that program, and of course his brothers as well, which was quite funny to watch.
Yeah, to say about the opening, I honestly did forget about it, to be honest, because yeah, it's something which I've completely explained my mind that this was the show which I was watching this season, and I do think that it was pretty good for the most part, and I do think I don't know, I think I do prefer Space Heroes, but overall I'd say that this little scene here was pretty cool and pretty fun to watch. But then we do go into the next scene where we do get to see Johnny's in his lab and he's going around talking to the pulveriser and he's talking about April. What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, it was nice to see Donnie talking about his problems and all of that, and of course it was nice, I say nice to see the pulveriser again. Like, maybe not in human form, but in his little jar sort of thing, because he's not causing any trouble for the turtles, which is nice. Because if you guys have been a long time listeners to this podcast, you know that I'm not the greatest fan of the pulveriser, and I don't think neither are you, Teddy, are you?
Who is the biggest fan of the pulveriser? No one likes him whatsoever.
Yeah. No one likes the pulveriser, and of course it was nice to see him just staying there in his jar, and of course Donnie's trying to figure out a cure for him, but it's not going too well. But it was really weird to see him again. He was just like this blob, and now he's got a voice out of the blue, which is a bit weird for my liking. Like, there's a giant blob of organs, and now he can talk. It's a bit weird. It's not something that I have that I haven't seen before, so yeah,
it just felt like weird. Like, I mean, to have him back was like quite cool, but I just think that just how he is and all that, it's just very hard to be like enjoy him for what he is because of everything's happened with him. So I can't say that I was the biggest fan of his return in this episode. But one thing which I did find a little bit weird is that Donto, we know that he has feelings for April. That's pretty obvious by now, but in his lab he has a picture of April, but the thing is that he puts all hearts around it. I know that he's trying to hide it from April, but if April goes in his lab then she'll see that, so I just don't understand why he's doing that. So God. But yeah, so after that we do get to see the turtles. They're out on the rooftops doing some training, and then Don oh no, I missed a bit. The first introduction of Casey. So in the scene we do get to see April's in school and Casey looks over a hockey park, and that's when he introduces himself. What do you think about that scene? And also, what do you think of Casey?
Seeing Casey Jones seeing Casey Jones for the first time was, to be honest, it was very weird. I was trying to wrap my head around, who is this character who's annoying April? Is this April's bully, or is this a person that's picking on her? But no, it's April. It's not April. It's Casey Jones, and I gotta say, I am not a particular fan of this version of Casey Jones. Like, he's covered in like dirt. He's filthy. He's missing his tooth. He's missing his front teeth. Like that. It's just. He's missing his front teeth, and he's just... You can understand where I'm coming from. He's not the best that he can possibly be. This version isn't like the honcho, the man, the beast himself from the 2003 or any others that I haven't watched yet. But I just wasn't a fan of his overall character, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this version either. And he doesn't improve whatsoever after this episode. I mean, he does improve slightly because he gets into things with the turtles and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't know. I just think that because of his attitude in this version, it becomes really hard to enjoy his character without just wanting to scream at the screen and just be like, "Can't you be better?" It's just he's a very hard character to like, and even after all these years, like 10 years later, I'm still struggling to like him. And yeah, I mean, my favourite version is the 2003 Casey, and I think that all the good things that 2003 Casey has, this version is like the opposite in every like possible thing imaginable. Oh, it's very hard to like him. So then going into the next scene, we do get to see the turtles. They're all on the rooftops, they're training, and then that's when we do get to see Donnie being very creepy, like a stalkery type thing, and just listening on April's and Casey's training or learning session. I just found that to be really weird, but yeah. What do you think about that scene?
That was probably the most creepiest and cringiest scenes of Donnie that I have ever witnessed when watching this series thus far. Like, I understood about the everything else about how he had thoughts for her, and I thought what the scene with Metalhead, when he accidentally says that he likes her through Metalhead, I thought that was the most cringiest one of all, but clearly not. This scene takes the cake by storm. Honestly, it's just so creepy, so weird, and the fact that he's spying on them and he knows where April is at all times, that is like proper stalker creepy 101. That is just nah. And you know where I'm coming from, right? That is just a big red flag in every part. Like, he knows where April is at all times. He knows where she is. She's stalking. And of course, he's got ideas to get rid of Casey Jones. Like, I swear he was planning to, like, get rid of him somehow. Like he had plans. You just know by looking at him, like, you know he was planning something bad with Casey Jones. Like, he was, hell, I'm surprised he didn't let Mutagen Man kill him, like, straight up, just obliterate him, you know? And then, of course, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like, Jesus, Donnie's gonna, like, do something real bad if someone doesn't stop him.
Yeah, I mean, it did seem like very creepy. I think that with how things are in modern society, it doesn't really age that well, and yeah, every possible thing imaginable is just the worst. So yeah, shall we move on?
Shall we?
Okay, so in the next scene we do get to see Donnie, he's fitted Timothy with like a voice bit. I must admit, he sounds extremely sad and painful with his like croaky voice, and even just some of the words, like especially like goes, was that Donnie? It just sounds so sad and painful. But he does have a little training session with my splinter about falling over. What do you think about that scene?
Yeah, I just quickly want to say about his voice box real quick. He sounded like he was in pain. Like he was like, please, please
End it
just
all.
stop, just end this. Like he sounded like end it all. It's like please. I felt, to be honest, I kind of felt sorry for the guy, you know.
Yeah.
And this is the pulverizer we're talking about here. It's sad, but anyways, going on to the Master Splinter and Donnie scene. Master Splinter was trying to teach Donnie an important lesson in life. Whenever you fall down, you always got to get back up again, and you always got to look through like the negatives and always see a positive to this side of things. You know, like he's trying to make a negative into a positive, which is kind of cool and just gives the moral of the story.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if that was actually the original intention, because I know that in the episode, he was using the falling over thing as a way to teach him how to, more or less, like, I don't know, like not how to fall in love with something and not make April come back and all that. So I think it's an interesting point of like where you're coming from, but I think that with the context of what Mark Spencer was saying, I think it works a lot better with what he was trying to do.
Ah, got ya. Because I was trying to figure out what was that lesson all about, and so I just had to like think of something and to make sense of it all to me, because I didn't really understand about how Donnie was getting his ass handed to him, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they did say in the actual episode, so yeah. Okay, so then in the next bit, we do get to see Mutagen Man. He grows limbs and stuff like that after drinking a lot of mutagen, and goes off after April. What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, I didn't know what to think of that. Like, I didn't even know that you could do that with mutagen. Like, he became more powerful with it, and I don't know what he was trying to do, like trying to make himself more powerful or whatnot. But yeah, I don't really have too much to say for that. Apart from that, he just went crazy with power, decided to just go on a rampage looking for April to be her friend, you know? It was just a bit crazy, you know?
Yeah, I do find it a little bit weird, but I do think it was quite cool to see the cops come in and try to fight him. I do think that was quite cool. And with him like melting the sticks, I thought like there's a lot of stuff in here that I thought was like really cool with how they did it in this episode. And one thing which I do have to wonder about that, because he can burn the sticks and he does have acid, how didn't he burn the picture? Or is this just going to be another one of those things that, you know, we just question and never get the answers to?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't think of that. And I know I'm going to start something off here, but how did he not burn, like, the police officer's hand off? Like, it was so close. Like, I'm surprised he didn't get any acid on the guys. Like, seriously. They could have been in, like, really bad state, those two police officers. Like, they could have just done... They could have just gotten melted, but luckily enough, the pulverizer just didn't go through with it. Like, there's so many questions that I have left unanswered. Like, also, just saying this, the cat's out of the bag. Like, New York has seen the Mutagen Man and the Turtles. There's no doubt in saying that they didn't see him, because they did.
Yeah, they definitely have seen them. I mean, in the comics, it's become a very interesting thing, because there's a pretty interesting thing in the comics where there was a bomb and they created a lot more mutants. And I know it's a different situation, but the whole thing with the mutants in the comics became a pretty interesting thing where everyone knew about them. And you got to see the aftermath of it, seeing how people reacted to it. But even here, like, now knowing that, like, all these characters, like, these people are seeing these type of things, and yet no one's really doing anything about it. It just, you know, it really makes you just want to question a lot of things, really. But yeah, I do think of, like, you know, I think them seeing mutants, and this season, them creating a lot more mutants with the mutant situation, there could be a lot more. I felt also, like, there was like a lot of possibilities for them to do a lot of really interesting things, but then they never really did anything with it. And then with like this bit here where like they do see Mutagen Man, but never really do anything with it, which could have been like a really cool thing to do. But yeah, Okay, yeah. So then after that, we do get to see the turtles. They do actually go off and find April. But Mutant Man catches up with April and Casey, and we do get to see a very cool fight between April and Casey versus Mutant Man. What do you think about that fight?
I really did enjoy that fight. Casey actually stepped in and tried to protect April, and of course he was trying to find a weapon to use, and of course he found this like metal pipe to use as like a hockey puck. And then that was pretty cool because, as we all know, Casey Jones likes to play hockey, so I'm guessing that's like a part of his character, his development, and all that. And it was pretty cool to see that he was taking junk and trying to use it as a weapon, which is pretty good. And of course, sadly, it failed, and he got his ass handed to him, of course. And then, of course, April had to step in. And I'm surprised April still has the weapon that Master Splinter gave to her, which is pretty cool to see, that she still cares and she still carries it around. She still uses it to protect herself and others. And of course, she was protecting Casey. And of course, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit weirded out when Casey said, "Oh, I like what I see." That was a bit weird. That was a bit weird, Casey. Come on, it's like only the first date. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's their relationship and just there, but I do think that overall the fight scene was pretty cool with what they did in this scene, with how interesting as they would take things, with like showing off like Casey's skill in this universe, which I must admit was pretty interesting, something which, you know, while Casey can be at sometimes in like any version of Turtles, he can have a variety of different, or like varied different skills, and I like in this one he can be competent, and this one it showed that like he's able to like, you know, like use his common sense to quickly like act, and I do think it was pretty cool. And even seeing like April, seeing her abilities was also like something pretty interesting to see, and not too much we really get to see too often, like her fighting. But when she does fight, it's always like pretty interesting to see and just so great. And yeah, so this scene, I don't, it's one of those really great scenes. But I do think like the Casey scene from sort of checking April out is just, yeah, I feel weird talking about it now. So yeah, so then after that we do get to see Mutant Man is on the streets. He finds Raph and Mike. He starts to fight them, and Leo cuts off his hand. Was you surprised by that?
To be honest, I didn't know what to think of that. Like, I was shocked when he chopped his hand off, because I was expecting blood to come out of it. But then I realised he's not a human. He's not a human anymore. The pulveriser isn't a human. He's Mutagen Man, and of course he's got mutagen instead of blood and all that sort of stuff. So I wasn't surprised. Like, I was shocked that he would do that, but I wasn't surprised enough to say, "Oh my god, he actually just cut off the pulverizer's hand," you know, because he's not human, you see. So I was, it was a bit weird, but I thought it was pretty cool because, like, he was gonna go for Raph. He was going to hurt Raph, and Leo stepped in and saved Raph by chopping off his hand, the only way possible in that situation. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that I wasn't really too shocked because of it, because it wasn't as graphic as I would say, like with the 2003 Shredder, like when he cut off his head. But I think it's just more the, oh my god, I can't believe they did that. It's just more that sort of like shock for me, really. So then after that, we do get to see a Mutant Man sort of like shrivels up and goes into Shellraiser and drinks some more mutagen. Now, I mean, with this scene, I don't think there's anything to really talk about. But one question which I do gotta say is that Mutant Man drinks one canister in this scene, but then later when Donnie goes to collect the mutagen to go get the mutagen later in the episode, he has 2 more canisters and a little beaker of it. Why didn't Mutant Man drink all the mutagen in the Shellraiser?
Oh my god, yeah, why do you do that? What? And just a quick one, why would you keep the mutagen in the Shellraiser? Like, why would you do that? Surely you would have, like, a safe you would put it in and keep it out of harm's way. Like, surely the Shellraiser is the terrible place to put the mutagen. Full stop. Period.
Well, I mean, I guess that's common sense in this universe. It just seems like so sure like he didn't drink it. I mean, I can understand them having it in the Shellraiser because science and stuff, but it just didn't. shall we just move on? Because I think it's going to be one of those situations where it's just get mad.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those.
Okay, so then for the next scene, we do get to see the turtles use stealth to go after the mutant man and try to fight him. What do you think about that scene?
That was pretty cool, actually. They were using their skills and their stealth to beat Mutagen Man. And of course, I kind of liked how they used the darkness. And of course, you can only see their eyes, the turtles' eyes, when they go into this like battle mode, that I call it. I really did like that.
Yeah, I think that had a really interesting thing, and I liked how they were bringing back the lessons which I was using in this episode, which I think was pretty cool to see. And I think that overall this scene was done pretty great with how they was using all the shadows to do different, basically look like different objects, which again I'm really annoyed because with the how it did in 2003, where people get confused with different objects, even though they can quite clearly see different, quite clearly see it's a different thing, but yet they're surprised when it's not. It is giving me loads of those kind of vibes, and it's just But I did like how they were using it in this episode, and I do think it did work really nicely with what they've done. But then we do get to see Donnie goes off and get Mutagen, and he gets extremely sad when he goes off and sort of kills Mutagen Man, sort of not really, by freezing him. What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, I really wasn't expecting him to actually take out the Mutagen Man with the faulty batch that he had made. I really wasn't expecting it. Donnie straight up killed him. He straight up killed him. Well, I wouldn't say kill him. We can't use that word because it's keep it PG now. But he was just he straight up killed him and froze him on ice, literally. And I really wasn't expecting it. And to be honest, I'm surprised Donnie had the strength and courage to do such a thing. Just to turn him into a giant ice cube. And to be honest, I really thought they were gonna absolutely destroy him, break him into tiny little pieces when he turned to ice, so that he could never harm anyone again. But luckily enough, they didn't. They didn't do that. So everything's alright, I guess. But now they got a giant mutant icicle that they've got to try and hide now and stop from melting.
I mean, that was a different reaction I would have, completely different reaction I was expecting you to have with that scene with Mutagen. I didn't expect you to think they were going to kill him, but well, that's one way of looking at it, I guess. But yeah, I did think that this scene was quite. He was
what would you say then?
Pardon?
What would you say how they treated him? They put him on ice. Would you say they killed him, or?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Or what's your thoughts behind that?
I mean, yeah, I guess they sort of did, but at the same time, it's just I wasn't expecting you to think that basically the turtles would smash him up after he froze. I was just not expecting that to come out of you because, well, yeah, I mean, it's you, but was just not expecting you to think that way. I think that's what I'm trying to get at is I was not expecting you to think that. But yeah, I must admit, I do think that with him going on ice, it was quite sad, especially with how he was in this episode and stuff like that. And even showing that Donnie does really care about him was also again really sad. But I do think that this little bit here was pretty okay and stuff like that. And then we do go into last little bit where we do get to see Charles watching the anime type thing, and Splinter says basically everything's going to work out and stuff like that. What do you think about that scene?
It was quite nice to see Master Splinter and Donnie talking about things will get better, and that life is always filled with ups and downs, and you just got to look on the bright side. And that's what I liked about that scene, because he's giving them a life story. Look, son, you're gonna have these problems. You're gonna have girls that come and go. Just always look at the bright side, and you'll be all right. That's what he was trying to tell him. So yeah, being a proper father figure to him, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I think that scene there with what I was trying to do, I think it does. I don't know how to really explain it, but I do enjoy it for what they were trying to go for in that scene. I think it does work with how they did portray it, with Donnie sort of having almost having like a bright future, I'd say. But I don't really know. It's just one of those things, like, because I know how things play out with this storyline and stuff like that, it becomes a bit hard for me to get excited for with the story. And when you see the conclusion to it, you will understand where I'm coming from. But yeah, overall, this little bit here was fine. So yeah, what do you think about this episode overall?
Overall, I thought this was quite an interesting episode, and of course, I wasn't expecting to see Casey Jones being introduced in this way in this series thus far, which is kind of nice and kind of not. Like, it was kind of nice to see Casey Jones in this series, but his character and his overall, like, look isn't what I was expecting nor hoping for. Even though this is just the first episode, and I can't judge by the first episode of seeing him, so I'm gonna hopefully think he gets a bit better and in future episodes, and yeah, that's hopefully what I'm gonna see. And just a quick one as well. It was kind of weird to see April and Casey like talking, because April was like, would you say he was flirting with her, like, to a basic degree, or was that just like banter or talk and all that? Like, I don't know. I that's what I just thought about it.
Well, let's just say that if you think that Donnie simping over April is bad enough, just wait until you see Donnie and Casey simping over April at the same time, competing for her.
Oh no, please tell me that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just get excited.
No.
Get excited. Yeah, I think that's the best way of describing it. It's just, at least you spotted it quite early on. That's one good thing I want to say. But yeah, if you're not looking for, if you didn't like the Donnie stuff, it's gonna be even harder.
I thought Donnie was bad, but Casey Jones, come on.
Yeah, it's just downhill from here, really. But yeah, what do you think about this episode overall?
Back to overall. Overall, I really did enjoy this episode. I thought it was really good, really great. It was cool to see Mutagen Man being like a threat, and to see him being put on ice, and the turtles feeling sympathetic for him. But overall, I think this was a great episode.
I mean, I do like this episode, and I think there's a lot of really good things about this episode, but I think that this one might be one of the harder ones to get excited for because of Casey. But I think that overall, this episode did a really good job of what they were trying to go for, and I do think that the majority of stuff which they were trying to do did work really well. So yeah. Okay, so you want to hear some comments now?
Let's hear them.
Okay. So with the comments, there is quite a lot of spoilers because they were talking about stuff which does happen in later episode that made people question a lot of stuff about this episode. Okay, so I'm going to try and read it without spoiling stuff. I'm going to try my hardest to. So Kent XY7JH, they put, wow, that episode came out 10 years ago, and I always thought it'd be one of the better episodes from season 2 of Timothy 2012. Casey's introduction into the show is kind of a cliche, as he's asking April out, who cuts off her relationship with the turtles due to her dad getting mutated, and just so that April can teach her. Mutant Man getting turned into pulveriser getting turned into Mutant Man is crazy. Also, the ability to speak to Donnie, who ironically shares some blame or credit for making him turned into a monster. How the Turtles beat the number one fan with us mission was pretty intense. Kind of it's sad that I had to end this way for poor Timothy. And yeah, okay, this might be a good time to say, this is the last time Mutant Man ever speaks or does anything in the show. And just like here on out, he's just a jar on the wall. That's it. It's all spoiler, but
really?
Yeah, it's all spoiler, but
they proper killed him off.
Well, not really. He's still alive, but he just doesn't do anything in this episode or like any other episodes. He's just there on the wall, and that's it. Really, he is really annoying with what they don't do with him, because he has potential to do stuff, but they don't do anything with him. Yeah. Andrew Wagner, they put.
Wow.
I definitely agree that is. Hang on. I definitely agree that it's not the best instruction for Casey, but he does feel like it wasn't the intention. Which, if they're going for that intention, then yeah, I think it worked. We're gonna meet Casey, but this isn't his instruction episode. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's all true. Even though Casey is in this episode and is in a few more, but he doesn't actually get like a good episode spotlight on him to really show him off with the team and stuff like that until like later in like the season. So I will give him where credit due. But like, it's not the best instruction, but that wasn't the intention with him. But this was still his first instruction. So yeah. And then after that, they pretty much talk about the spoilery stuff. So I can't talk about that. Bay Walker 9/8/20. They put kind of wish they did more Mutant Man. Yeah. Improve Yourself 8/9/5. They talk about spoiler stuff, so I can't talk about that. Atavius 2491. Again, they talk about spoiler stuff. Language Striker. Finally, we can finally talk about some stuff. They put for Casey's Far From The Best. 2003 will be the best one, with the 101 close second. 2003 is just perfect in pretty much every way, and don't say that too often. 2001, well, he's more of a try-hard brat, and don't get me started on the rivalry with Don over April. Oh god, no. As a pulveriser, never gave a shit about him anyway. So yeah, I think everyone has that sort of opinion on it. Okay, so for Freezer Main, I think that's how I say it. Oh, well. They put Paul Timothy, A Terrible Life. Still may have a rise didn't do anything after this episode. And yeah, his real definition of that. There's a fate far worse than death. And yeah, I think he is. Barry Apples, they put. I think there's a lot left unsaid. I don't think there was any reason to wrap up his story on the show. Yeah, I do think that it was like really weird that they don't do anything with his character after this point. Like, how do you feel about that after like knowing that he's never going to return or do anything significant in the season or show?
To be honest, I'm kind of glad that he's not going to be coming back. Like, the pulveriser as human was. He was terrible. I'm just saying it right now. He was a terrible character. Like, I didn't enjoy him. I know many of you guys listening in right now didn't enjoy him, and especially you, Teddy. You didn't enjoy the pulveriser in his human form, did you know?
Oh no, definitely not.
but with him now put on ice and put away for good, it's kind of out of mercy, you know? Like, he was a monster, he didn't know what he was capable of, and it's better for him, and I guess for all of us, really, as the audience, so we don't have to see him again, which is kind of good. And I think the producers also found out, like, the pulveriser wasn't the greatest character they came up with, but they showed him anyways, and they saw the audience's reaction, and they said, all right, we're going to put him on ice, put him on a shelf, and he's just going to stay there for a while until everything dies down. But yeah, I think the Turtles did it out of mercy. Like, put him on ice, put him away for a while until we know what to actually do with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with this whole situation, I enjoy the like that they're not doing anything with Pulveriser anymore because, well, yeah, it's pretty obvious that we don't like him, so that's like a really good thing. But at the same time, with his story, I just think that it's like such bad writing of them to not really do anything with it and just leave it open-ended more or less and just never really resolve it. And I think that this is what something which the 2003 show did a really good job at. We're taking like secondary characters, like even like the main characters, they have their story arcs, but even like secondary characters that I do get to see in that show, I'm not gonna name them just because I know that like the ones which do have the best story arcs that haven't appeared in the show. And I think that like even like those characters which more or less wouldn't get a second thought in any other version of Turtles are having like a story focus on them just because they're the main focus of that story. But even when you do get to secondary characters that are just there in the background, they do have stories that do overlap into other episodes. And I think that when you get into like a episode like this, that you can definitely tell that like there was potential here to tell quite a few more stories, maybe having Mutant Man like go off again, be him again unleashed, or even like curing him or something like that. There was like ways to really do something, but yet they don't do anything with his character other than just, yeah, he's there, oh well. So I just think that it's just really bad writing on their part. Okay, so who's next? HD Hunter, they put, well, I see it. While Timothy decided to be heroes understandable and relatable, his reckless and semi-stupidity kind of makes him unqualified. And yeah. Stable International, they put, sometimes I feel Timothy died after Donnie froze him. At the start of the episode, the museum got shattered when Donnie froze it, and even in later episodes you can see his pot. Oh Christ, yeah, it might have died actually. Oh god, this is getting really dark.
Wait, what?
Because remember
Who died?
No, think about at beginning. If you think about it, at the beginning of the episode, Donnie froze the mutant and it shattered the glass. Now with Mutant Man, it was completely frozen. So he just exploded, maybe?
That's what I was saying.
Oh Christ, yeah. Oh no, now they say it out loud. Oh yeah, this is way worse. Oh god, I really feel bad for him.
They actually killed him.
I hope not. Oh my god.
This is what I was trying to say earlier about how he hasn't shattered into pieces when he turned to ice, when they put him on ice.
Oh my god, like, it's taken me 10 years to sort of like think about it, but like, oh my god. Like,
I've made you think.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about it now, it's just like, oh my god, I can't believe I actually did that. I mean, if that actually did happen, which I really hope it didn't, but oh my god. Okay, so yeah, Omni Mushroom, they put, Mutant is known to wrap some mutants' mind, he's known to warp some mutant minds. I think that's what happened with Timothy when he went on the rampage. Yeah, but I don't know, he's pulveriser, who cares about him? Yeah, so, okay, so for trivia, it's pretty interesting. Okay, so this is the first episode appearance of Casey Jones in this show, and his actual first appearance was in the first episode of this season. He was in the intro part because they included him in the intro. He's only in it for like a second or two. I think it might be best for me to like send a screenshot of him just so that you know when like what part it is, because I think it's hard to describe it. So like Space Heroes, the SRMFF is used to foreshadow like sort of stuff in like the episode as well as like series, just like how Space Heroes did, which I think that's pretty interesting, like how visually representative of how that stories could conclude or something like that. So yeah. Okay, when Casey is walking April to her apartment, you can see the second time round store, which is appearing in the background, which is where April was living in the 2003 show. The truck driver who was driving the truck who's hit Mutant Man was Fong from the Purple Dragons, so that's interesting. When Raphael says to Donatello, quote, as useless as a trench coat on a turtle, he was referring to the original. I feel like we've already done that one. I'm not too sure about that one. Okay, so the voice box Donatello gave Mutant Man has a sign on it called Lair. Now, I don't know I don't know how much you know about the creators of the Turtles, but one of the creators was Peter Laird, and yeah, I felt like that's a pretty cool little bit there. Okay, so do you want to hear some and do you want to hear the cast now?
Go on then, let's hear the cast.
Okay, you're gonna be surprised with.
I think we've done them all, have.
Oh no, not Casey, and you're gonna be surprised by him. Okay, so April is voiced by.
Oh, Casey.
Yep, Casey. Okay, so April is voiced by Mae Whitman. Donatello voiced by Rob Paulson. Leonardo voiced by Jason Biggs. Michelangelo voiced by Greg Sipes. Mutant Man voiced by Roger Craig Smith. Raphael voiced by Sean Astin. We did have two cops which were voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. Homeless Guy voiced by Nolan North. Who else? Splinter voiced by Hoon Lee. And then the Subaru, the anime thing. Yeah, Brian Bloom, who did the Captain. Dr. Blip by Scott Menville. Lung by Nolan North. And Prince by Mae Whitman. So do you want to hear who voiced Casey? And don't take any guesses for him.
Ooh. I don't know.
Okay, well, have you seen the show Drake and Josh?
Oh my gosh, I think I know who you're talking about.
It's Josh Peck.
Oh my god, no way.
Yeah, he's...
Josh Peck.
Yep.
I swear he was a Viner as well, way back when. That's the one, Josh Peck the Viner, and in the Disney show. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that show in years.
Oh, this is all a little bit depressing. He's in the new film Oppenheimer, the one about the bomb. So this is really taking a really dark, depressing turn.
Yeah, I know. That was, yeah, his life went from like a Disney Channel show to being like one of a absolute terrible, well, not a terrible, it's a great thing, but it's like a terrible dilemma of like the Oppenheimer like story behind it all. He's like now a scientist working on to destroying the planet with like the Oppenheimer bomb, which is just crazy. So, yeah, he's definitely took a turn, you know.
He has been in quite a few things, which I don't think I've seen all. I've only seen him in Turtles, I think. But he has a very, I must admit, he has such a very variety of like a wide variety of different things he's been in, which I think is quite cool compared to like some like other actors, which are just more or less like put into one sort of like category and then just sticking to it. But from going to Disney Channel star to a scientist blows up things, pretty big turn. But yeah, just looking at some of the stuff, it's just pretty interesting. But also, I don't know, he's definitely had a more interesting career, I'd say, with what he's been part of. Yeah.
Like, he's been in so many things, like iCarly, How I Met Your Father, Robot Chicken, really good TV series. Even oh my gosh, I completely forgot about the Trolls. The Ice Age Collision Course, he played as Eddie, that was really good, and of course he's played in a lot of Ice Ages as well as Eddie all the time, and it's really good to see such like a diverse portfolio of his acting career. Like, I believe he's been in most of the Ice Ages. Like, he's been in 3 Ice Ages, which is crazy.
Wow.
And he's been in What's New Scooby-Doo. That I used to love. That was such a great series.
Yeah. Okay, so moving
and of course, Drake and Josh as well. Yep, there he is.
Okay, so moving on to the next bit. Okay, so for the next episode is called Mikey Gets Shalacony. What do you think is going to happen in the episode?
Sorry, what was that? Mikey Gets Shalacony?
Shell acne.
Oh, shell acne. Well, shell acne. What the? I think Mikey's gonna get shell acne. You know, just a hunch. You know.
Oh, Christ. Oh God, that was awful. Oh, just real dad.
I don't know. I'm trying my best here.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean.
I wasn't expecting you to say shell acne. That's what just threw me off completely. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think next episode is going to be a pretty interesting one for you in particular, just because there's certain things that happen in the episode that I'm really interested to hear your reaction to it, because it could either make you get really excited for the future for the show, or it could turn you off from the show. So I'm really interested to see your reaction to it next week, because it's going to be really interesting with it, because yeah, that's all I'm really going to say about it, really. So yeah.
So this is like a make or break sort of thing.
Well, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal where basically it's gonna like either ruin the show or it's gonna make it even better. But there's something in it that you will either really like for how it does maybe improve it with like certain things for future seasons and stuff like that, or be something which you will like see like later in the show and be like, I wish they did it a different way and stuff like that. That's the best way of describing it, which I think should get you excited or nervous, which I don't know, that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it's going to be really interesting for next episode with you and your reaction to it.
Alright.
So yeah, so don't think else to say about this episode, or it's all done with this one?
I'm pretty much all done with this. I've said that I've wanted to say. Yeah, I'm all done.
Yeah, I'm pretty much all done as well. I've got nothing else to say. Really did enjoy it. But yeah, if you don't want to go onto this podcast, you can leave a comment on Reddit, you can leave one on YouTube, you can leave one on Facebook, Instagram threads. Well, so I think that's all. Oh, also Anchor either through the text message or voice message. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for this week. I've been host Teddy.
And I've been Hayden.
And we'll see you soon. Goodbye. Yo. Bye.
Bye.